we first welcome up Mr. Artie Carlucci, who is the environmental science teacher who oversees, what do you call it for the environmental club? What's your formal role? He advises the environmental club. Thank you so much, Mr. Carlucci. And then Jennifer Benson, who right now is wearing her Riverkeeper hat, which is her day job, but she's also a volunteer with the Ossining Documentary and Discussion Series. This might be the first time we've ever had an odds committee member also be a panelist. So thank you for joining us, Jennifer, in this role. And, oh, there she is, Jackie Shaw. And this is also highly unusual. Jackie recently joined us in February as the moderator for our odds discussion, and today she's joining us in her official capacity as the town councilwoman from the town of Ossining. This is actually a town beach. If we want to get into municipal structure, we can. It's probably less interesting than all the other stuff we could talk about. But Jackie also, she just joined the town board a year ago, but you were a member of the Recreation Advisory Board for 10 years leading up to that, and you continue on as a liaison to that. So Jackie's very familiar with a lot of the efforts that have been discussed, yeah, and that we're now seeing the science behind it. So I guess I'll start by asking our citizen scientists, and we'll invite audience members to ask questions in just a moment. What drew you to take on this role? And I wasn't clear from, how frequently were you down there collecting samples?
Okay, so we sampled in the summers, every summer for the past few years, and we sample weekly, usually on Wednesdays. And what personally drew me to sample this water is the Hudson's right there. It's a local resource that we should be using, and it's important to reconnect to the environment, especially in a day and age where we're getting continually disconnected from our physical environment and connected to our technological one.
So I joined this project because of Mr. Carlucci, because he invited me to do it. So I also saw it as a great opportunity for myself to learn how this resource that is just right there that we don't use, and how can we reconnect to that, which is a great opportunity for myself and all the other samplers that were involved. And it was just a great experience overall.
Personally for me, I joined this project aside from the community service hours. I joined because I have a personal and passion for the river. As I grew up watching documentaries instead of TV shows, and I think this was a great opportunity that Mr. Carlucci gave, and as well for the keeper, that I was able to visit the beach every week and to do something productive with it. And I think it's something that makes me feel a little bit better knowing that I could give back to my community. You know, even if I'm just like sampling for water, I think it would provide for something greater in the future.
Thank you. Jennifer, did you want to comment on this program? Were you involved in training the student? So what can you tell us about the relationship between Riverkeeper and involving the school group? Is that a common way that you get your citizen scientists, or is something unique to Ossining?
No, so Ossining High School's participation in our citizen science sampling program is unique to this community. Our office is actually located at 20 Secor Road, so right at the bottom of the hill before the train station. We're sort of tucked under the bridge, but not really. We're a little bit difficult to find, but we found Artie, or Artie found us, and he saw that our sampling program is a great opportunity to get the students involved and get them down to the beach and get them engaged with water quality monitoring. And so we have about 170 something other citizen scientists, and none of them at present that I know of are current high school students, which is exciting. It's definitely a model that if we did have the opportunity to expand, we would want to, and we've just been really valuable. It's been a very valuable partnership to us, and we've really enjoyed working with the students. Artie can probably tell you how it originally happened. It predated me a little bit. I've been at Riverkeeper for 4 years, and I think you guys have been sampling for 5 or 6.
Well, I've been teaching environmental science. I've been in the district for 22 years, and I've been in high school for 19. been teaching environmental science for about 12 years. And every year they have something called A Day in the Life of the Hudson River in October. And it's about 9 years ago, I saw the riverkeeper just open the office in Ossining. I was there with my class, and I go, let's go in. So we did. And I met Dan Shapley, who you saw in the movie. And now he's in charge of the water sampling. And, you know, we are so fortunate here in Ossining to have this great resource at our doorstep. And I think the best learning is when it's personal and meaningful. And my opportunity is to make it personal and meaningful for these guys and the community in general. So, and also Josh Mandel, who was principal of the high school, he did some magic. He said, I was talking to some people, and among them David Carlucci, and they were able to get the funding. We set up a lab in my classroom for water quality sampling. And Riverkeeper, it's about 5 years ago now, they showed us the protocol. And it's important. This is for EPA standards. The kids realize that, this isn't like, here's your science lab. This is real science. And they take it seriously. They do it well. It's posted on the website. And this is the thing about science is it can drive policy, and it's happened statewide. The Clean Water Act was really because of, among other things, because of scientific data about what can happen and what can be done. Well, these guys are getting the data, and hopefully on a local level, here it is. We have data. The beach, as Dan said in the video, there are times we've had really low readings, but then this past summer, it seemed every time we were going out to do some sampling, like a day or so before, we get like 2 inches of rain. And unfortunately, that makes an impact. But I think overall, we go in the water to get the samples, so, and standing. But you know what? The thing is that these guys have a connection with it, and that's what I try to bring to the kids. So, that's kind of how we got here, and I hope to see that this continues. And it's like when you go in a river, you make ripples, and they spread out. Well, here are my ripples. So that's what we're trying to do here.
So before I ask for questions from the audience, I'd like to ask our Councilwoman Shaw if, obviously, all of the student scientists have made mention of one of their goals is to have a publicly accessible beach in the town park, Lewis Angle Park, down at our waterfront, where they've been doing all the sampling. And I know that there have been, at least for the last couple of years, there's been like a polar plunge kind of event. So you mentioned doing pop-ups, and so I guess that would sort of qualify as a pop-up. There's a couple of fundraisers. Not really a nice day to go to the beach. It's like a 2-minute, get yourself wet in the freezing cold water and raise money for charity event. But it is, a minor step in that direction. There are a lot of, without getting into the weeds of municipal hoops, what is the town board's position on whether or not this is a good idea? Can it work? And what do you envision as a potential path forward?
Okay. So the polar plunge actually got us started looking at the quality of the water. Because when the fundraising group came to us, we were kind of leery because we had heard the rumors about the Hudson. Was the water quality good enough for people to go in even for the 2 minutes in February? And one of the things we did, we had a lot of exploration done, we had a lot of water quality done, and we had readings done the days and weeks before, and the readings were good. And the feedback we got from the science community was that the readings were good. So once the polar plunge started, we started thinking, okay, so if that's good in February, will it be good other times? So we started applying for grants, trying to revamp Engle Park to make it more usable, and one of the things we were thinking about was the beach. Then this group came to us with the pop-up beach idea, which kind of blew our minds. We had never really thought of the beach as a pop-up. But then we started thinking that we could coordinate it with things like the summer concert, July 4th, fireworks, that kind of thing. So is it a way to start making that work? We have people there on Fridays. For the concert series, we could expand the concert series for Friday and Saturday, so we were bouncing around with different ideas. But generally, we really like the idea of the pop-up beach, and it's just a matter of getting grant money to clean up the beach, getting the volunteers, as they were saying, to help clean up the beach, and to make it something that's usable and on an ad hoc basis. So usable when it can be, and we'd have to have signs posted and that kind of thing. But we're trying to work it around events that we're already having. So someone could be at the concert, another group could be at the beach, and so we're using all of Engle Park to the fullest.
Okay. So, who has a question for any of our panelists this evening?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for doing what you're doing. So I'm wondering if there are more groups like yours in the river towns north and south of Ossining, and also wondering about the water quality in those different areas. And is it similar or is it very different?
This is a very unique group to this community. We don't have citizen water quality samplers in any other community that are high school students. Part of the reason why that's really unique is that Artie makes it happen. He works with the students and they're willing to get up relatively early in the morning. I think you guys typically sample at like, what, 7 or 8 in the morning? Yeah, so these students are getting up early in the morning and are giving up sleep in time during their summer vacations to do scientific research, and that's very unique. But also Artie is very unique in that he's willing to spend his summers when he's not necessarily anchored to his classroom, coordinating students to get excited to go down to the beach and to do this water quality sampling year after year after year. And I think some of you guys have at least been doing this for a year or two. So these are not only samples that are being taken, but it's the relationships that have been built that are the basis of keeping this group together year after year and going out and continuing to sample. The second question is about water quality. We find that the vast majority of places, it's safe to swim in the river at most times. Typically, after rainstorms is when we see the water quality go down. To contextualize that for you, in a lot of communities, our stormwater system combines in the pipes and shares the pipes with our wastewater system. And just like a water bottle or a coffee cup, our wastewater treatment plants can only handle a certain volume of liquid. And so when a wastewater treatment plant has a volume of liquid that it can't handle, we have a couple of options. One is for them to back up into our homes and schools and offices and onto our streets. The other option is to discharge the liquid out somewhere. And the somewhere ends up being the Hudson River or its tributaries. There are green and gray infrastructure solutions to limit the occurrence of combined sewer overflows, as they're called, but that's the reason for the decrease in water quality within a couple of days of a rainstorm. However, the data does show that if you're days away from a rainstorm, that it is typically safe to swim, and we take about 4,000 water quality samples each season from April to November, and all of the data lives on our website. So what's cool is you can go to riverkeeper.org and actually look at all of the locations that we sample, how much rain there's been in that 24-hour period, and what the data looks like in graphs and charts and maps. And so there's a lot of different ways that users can interact with this information. We give our data to the Carey Institute that actually does a data jam where students can create unique ways to represent the scientific data, ours as well as other organizations, different types of data. And so we really try to make it accessible to students, communities, and municipalities and just publish it all, because it's important that we have a well-informed public that knows where and when it's safe to swim, and then when it's not, why.
Thank you.
Along those lines, when you have like a rain event or something, big storm, are we also a part of that contributing to just like the waste I see in the street and stuff, and that runoff, is it not just, you know, treatment plants where there's the issue? And the second part of my question is there some way to prepare for an event like that with, you know, treatment plants? I mean, of course, all of us can, you know, make sure we don't throw trash in the street, or, you know, we can pick up stuff. I know that there has been some events where people go down to the river. My daughter did it years ago and help clean up and stuff. So I know that there are things that we as individuals and volunteers can do, but is there also, you know, something that we
Yeah,
can
that's a really good question.
do to get, you know, communities to be more proactive in, you know, waste management?
Yeah, absolutely. And so when a combined sewer overflow happens because of that larger than manageable volume of water, it's not only coming from our our schools and offices and homes, it's also coming from the stormwater runoff from our streets. So everything that's in our storm drains, as you were saying, during a CSO event will run also into our waterways. But in terms of what can be done more broadly, Riverkeeper uses this data to advocate at a state level for funding for municipalities to upgrade their wastewater treatment plants. What's actually interesting is when John Lipscomb samples, because we also take samples on the boat in addition to the beach, he hasn't been able to figure out where the outfall is in Ossining, because a lot of times you can see it, so a lot of times you can see the effluent leaving the plant, but John hasn't been able to see it, John hasn't been able to smell it, and he hasn't been able to find it by like sampling around it. And so we have one of the better wastewater treatment plants in the region, from what John has said, and also our wastewater treatment plant operator has let Green Ossining as well as students tour the plant, which I think is really unique. In Ossining, they're very proud of not only our drinking water management, but also our municipal waste water management, which you really would sort of think that there's some shame and some weird stigma around what you flush, but here people are very open about it, and they've been very welcoming to students as well as Riverkeeper. But then to take the question a step further, there's also a lot of green and gray infrastructure options. So instead of having the effluent go out into the waterway, it could be stored in a big tank until the wastewater treatment plant finishes processing the large volume that it has. There's also green infrastructure opportunities, such as bioswales. Those are essentially tree pits, but in addition to having trees and native grasses, they have essentially space underneath for water to infiltrate, and then some of the water will then will either be released later and let into the wastewater treatment system, or the water will simply be absorbed and used by the plants and the trees. So there's some green infrastructure options, some gray infrastructure options, but then personally, this might be a little counterintuitive, but stay with me. So during a rainstorm, if you don't want to contribute to a combined sewer overflow, it's best to maybe put off your laundry until a sunny day, because that means that you're putting less water into the system. So guys, students, if your parents tell you to do your laundry during a rainstorm, you can make a well-reasoned argument that you should wait 2 or 3 days. And it's the same with, like, if we're having like a flash storm where we're having really intense rain for a couple of hours in the summer, you could postpone your shower. I mean, or you could just go stand outside, as one of my roommates does. That's personal preference. So there are some individual behavior things that folks can do. In New York City, they're actually piloting this really cool program where you can get a text message update. It's called the WAIT program. Think of how smart that is. Where you'll actually get a text from the New York City Department of Environmental Protection that says, please wait to shower or do your laundry or whatever for X amount of time. And sometimes sometimes it's as long as overnight. And so sometimes you get the text at 8, CSO will be over by 2, and then you can just shower and start your laundry in the morning. So there's a lot of things that can be done at every level, but also just don't throw garbage into the street is a good place to start.
Sorry, Jen, could you speak about the storm drain stenciling project in Ossining?
Oh, yes. So in the village proper, in Village Center, so like around Main Street, Market Square area, the community center, as well as down by the train station. Last summer we undertook a storm drain stenciling effort supported by the village, the town, DPW, Riverkeeper, Green Ossining. It was a lot of different groups that got involved, and we stenciled the storm drains in English and Spanish with lettering that says, "Please don't dump drains to Hudson River." So that way, people that are passing by on the street and might be thinking, "Oh, I'm just gonna throw my coffee cup, or I'm just gonna throw my plastic bag into the storm drain because it's gonna go away," will actually know that there's connectivity between our streets and our waterways via underground infrastructure. And so that project will probably be coming back at some point because we only stenciled like 200 of the storm drains, and I think there's like 2,000 and something in the village. So there might be volunteer opportunities coming soon.
And I'm just going to put on my village hat for a moment since we're talking about litter. On Earth Day, which is Monday the 22nd, we're going to be launching our new Clean Streets initiative in the village. And it's part of, actually we're using money from the Economic Development Downtown Fund, and we have a member of the Downtown Development Fund Council who's here, John Zeltzman. So John, if you want to chime in and say more about it, please do. But the 22nd, we're going to be launching it, and you'll start seeing banners around downtown and wraps on the public trash cans in downtown, encouraging people to take small actions to clean up that have big results in our community. And it hadn't occurred to me, which is silly, but just sitting here, we knew it was an environmentally sound thing, but how directly it impacts the work that you're doing and what you're seeing in the overflow. In the river.
So when I walk to work, I just bring my roommates aren't trained on the reusable bag thing yet. We're working on it, but we're not quite there. So I take one of their single-use grocery bags, and I typically pick up litter when I walk to work or when I walk to First Village. So like even little things like that are great.
And I will give credit where credit is due. The wastewater treatment facility is managed by the County of West. We have a question over here.
Yes, since I have both municipalities here, I haven't noticed that much of the municipalities cleaning the storm drains, and I look in storm drains a lot, and they are a mess. So I always worry that, like the back parking lot behind all the stores, you know, besides the fact that cats and raccoons are living there, they're dirty. And how often are the storm drains cleaned? They certainly haven't been cleaned in my neighborhood of Westview, that area. I haven't seen them in years clean them out. Do you have a clue on that?
For the town, I don't know the exact schedule, but I know that the highway department has that on their list of things that they do on a regular basis. I don't know the exact schedule though.
It is something that's done, and part of it is done for exactly that reason. Sometimes it's just to prevent flooding. It's not even as erudite as environmentalism. But if there are particular ones that are not making it onto the rotation, then yeah, please, you know how to get in touch with me or anybody in village government and just point out that whatever we're doing, we're not hitting the ones on Westview. Yeah, please.
So my question is more geared towards the students, and you guys were collecting data, and I'm assuming when you were collecting the data, you were also recording, you know, important critical points like temperature, and maybe the last time it had rained, close to when you collected it, whatnot. Were you guys also notating how the beach looked? I mean, as I frequent the beach a lot, primarily looking for driftwood, but there is a lot of trash and debris that does wash up, and I wondered if that was recorded also in your data, and if you found any correlation with your results with trash debris also.
I can answer the first part of your question. So, yes, we do take into account those things that we see on the beach visually. We, Mr. Felicia and we all count the number of bees that are probably in the area, or if there are any major debris on the beach. We do take that into account. We do record it.
So our samples are of Enterococcus bacteria, and so Enterococcus bacteria is a bacteria that is found in the fecal matter of many organisms, such as humans. And so we note garbage on the ground near the beach, but we don't really think much of it, for lack of a better phrase, because it would have very little impact on the Enterococcus levels. But geese and other organisms are important because they have Enterococcus in their systems as well.
I think we have time for 2 more questions.
I think this is for Riverkeeper. Is there a meaningful possibility of getting public funding to separate the wastewater and sewage treatment plants along the river? Is the state funding a possibility?
So the complicated thing about sewer systems and stormwater systems is that even in areas where there are separate sewer systems, there are different problems. So if you separate the storm sewer from the rainwater that comes from our streets when rain falls and hits the streets and enters the storm drains, in those separate sewer environments where the wastewater treatment plants are not getting the rainwater from the streets, it's also a missed opportunity to catch the garbage, the oil, anything else that's being poured down the storm drains. And so there's an equal but different suite of issues that go along with a separate sewer system as opposed to a combined sewer system. And so it's not, a separate sewer system won't solve all of the problems, and it'll essentially just give you different ones. So our advocacy is really focused around upgrading wastewater treatment systems, as well as implementing gray and green infrastructure projects to either hold and retain that combined stormwater and wastewater until the plant can handle it, or to prevent the water from getting into the system in the first place through green infrastructure. And green infrastructure can also really improve quality of life, because it means that there's more trees and there's more native plants in our environment. And then it can also go beyond just bioswales and rain gardens, but it can also mean green roofs and blue roofs. There's some interesting green infrastructure projects that are happening in New York City using green and blue infrastructure, and it would be cool to explore what possibilities could also be used in smaller municipalities such as Ossining.
There's a question here.
Hi. So I have a question about, I know Jen was talking about like how like storm drains, they drain out into like rivers and such. So I'm from Rockland County, so I'm not sure if this applies to where I live, but say like I'm washing my car in the driveway and it's right next to a storm drain. Like what's the best method of like disposing of that wastewater if the storm drain's not the best place for it to go?
So for car washes, I used to wash my own car because it was cheaper, but now I actually go to the car washing place because they have to like collect the water and properly filter and dispose of it. So in that case, really the best option is to go to a place that has the infrastructure to handle something like that. And it's just like changing your own oil. Like if you change your own oil for your car, you should never pour it down the storm drain.
Okay, we have time. Thank you. One more quick question here.
Getting back to the beach question, what impact or non-impact does the correctional facility here in Ossining have on the beach and the water quality, and who are they sort of responsible to? Where does their sewage go? Are they responsible to the village, to the state? Who monitors their excess, as it were?
I'm probably the best to speculate on that. And I say speculate because they buy water from the village, so they're a state entity, it's a state prison. I would imagine that their wastewater probably goes right through the plant, which is on the edge of their property to begin with.
That's true. I went on a field trip with one of my classes to the sewage treatment plant, and that question came up, and it goes right through there. So that's where it goes.
It is right.
Yes, and they have to pay for it, just like regular customers do. All right, I wanted to just give our panelists one opportunity. Did you have a final thought, or is there something burning that you wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to? Or is there something you want to let us know that's coming up in your life or our community that we should know about?
The town is working on several grants that will reorganize how Engle works, and we're hoping that part of that will be the pop-up beach. But as Brandon, I believe it was Brandon said, a lot of what's going to happen at Engle Beach will be volunteer-oriented. The cleanup, once we get the water quality at a place where we can really get people in the water, the sand is going to need a lot of help as well. So there has to be some work done on the sand, work done on the water, and that's, I would imagine, is going to require some volunteer effort and some work from the community. So we're looking forward to that, and we will keep you posted.
The only thing I have to say is while there's a lot to be done on a governmental level, there's a lot of power in the people. So spreading the word to the people you know and gathering support for this project will push it forward and make it a reality.
Just everyone said something about how this is a great project and how we can do something about it. And now we're talking to you guys, the citizens of Ossining, and even not in Ossining. So, like, just spread the word. Come to the events at the waterfront of the beach, and just enjoy the resource that we have right there.
My thrill of teaching is being able to first work with students in the first place, and then maybe get them into find their passion. And I think it's one thing as a teacher, of course, you want the kids to, learn their science or whatever subject, and also get a chance to, come up with a great achievement. But in the back of your mind, you're like, well, hopefully they can find something that they can bring it to another level and make a contribution. And as I've gone through this project, this is my third or fourth crew, because we've been doing it. This next year will be our fifth summer doing it. So it's been a change, but a change from year to year. But every year, I've been very fortunate in that I've had kids who are dedicated, that they're passionate, that they find, look what I can do for my community. And so, it's my good fortune to work with these guys. And, and the good thing is now, unfortunately, Brandon's going to graduate this year. Brandon and Andrea will still be around for next year. So, so we're building. But that being said, this is not in any textbook. And I think that's, one of the things they said, family memories. Well, it's my school family, I suppose. But it is. It's something that they'll carry with them, and who knows? They'll be planting seeds elsewhere, hopefully. So.
Just a personal thought. I really do hope that I see this project go completely through. We are really advocating for this project. But I think it's really great for not just the adults, not just for reputation of Austin, but just in the youth itself. Because a lot of my friends are looking for a new thing to do in Austin. I personally love Austin so much. But, the youth is always looking for something more, and we have this great resource that is right next to us. And I think that this project presents so many new opportunities. Community service hours, learning about the river most importantly, saving this river, using this resource to the best that we can. And I think that it's a very great project that I hope will go on, because it's something that I would really like to see happen, and we would like to see happen. And I think it's very important for us. Being such a technologically lenient generation, we're not going outside as much anymore and looking at the river, oh look, there's a fish or there's a bird. You know, we're not so inclined to that anymore. And it's very fortunate that Mr. Carlucci found a couple of students who are willing to give up their time in summer to do this. And I think it's really great, because I think there are more students out there who are willing to do that. And I think this project is a good way to reach out to more people who are interested in that. So, yeah.
Well, on behalf of Riverkeeper, we're just really lucky to be in this community. We're really, I live here, I work here, and to have built the relationship that we have with both the municipalities of the town and the village, as well as Ossining High School educator Artie Carlucci and a variety of students over the last couple of years. It's really great to be in a place that loves the river. Between the Earth Day Festival and sampling and the summer concert series, it really brings the community together, and we're grateful to be here enjoying and advocating for the river alongside this community and the students. So thank you all for coming, and I'll turn it back over to Victoria.
Well, thank you. Let's all give our panel a round of applause. And I'll just remind everyone that this is the beginning of this film we watched tonight is the beginning of a series. Come see the rest of the series. Join us next Thursday evening, a little bit later. We'll start the film at 7:30. You can get there a little early and get your seat. And a different location than we've ever done it before. We'll be at 75 Spring Street, which is right across from the police station at Sing Sing Kill Brewery. Hope that you'll join us. You'll get to meet the filmmaker. You'll get to meet another terrific person from Riverkeeper and ask them some different questions as we continue this conversation. And then, of course, we'll see you all on Earth Day, Saturday the 27th. Right down at the waterfront, you can take a look at the beach. Oh, yes, sir. Was there one last question?
If people want to make a donation, do they have to wait until the next screening?
No, actually, you can do it on your way out. You'll notice there's a box that's decorated with beautiful butterflies. If you'd like to make a donation, tell us your name. We'll put it up in lights on the screen for the next screening. Thank you so much for asking. Thank you all for joining us. Hope to see some of you next week.